Hello all, I am Sindhu C. I welcome you all to this second session on programming in R basics. The first command that we'll be looking at is version. So to know what version we are using, we have to use r.version. So you will know what version, language, year, month and many other information on the R application that you have installed. Next, about help. Okay, there are several help options that you can get from this R application. So the first one is help.start. So when you use this command, you get this page opened. So here you have various links through which you can identify or get the solution for whatever problem that you're finding. Now specifically, if you have some doubts, you can also specify that function to know what it is about. So here, let me find out what is sort. Sort is a function. So what is sort? So then specifically you get help on what is sort, what are the parameters required, what are the attributes that I have to use. So the other details. Next, there is one more way of using it. So give us question mark and then type what you want to search. Right? So what is sum? Another one is double question. So what is sort? So these are the various search results which has sort and sum functions that we have recently searched. Now we'll work with some simple expressions. So first thing, we should know that R, it ignores spaces between expressions. So if you say 3 plus 4, it is as same as 3 space plus space and 4. You should also know that we have some variables or objects that hold values previously itself. So one example is pi. We know that pi has a specific value of 3.141593. Even so, we can overwrite values on it. So now pi's new value is 0. But it is too risky to change the already defined values of objects. So now I'm removing the pi that I have created. Now pi's value is the previous value. If we don't remove it, then some other day it's going to be creating a problem for you. So try to identify what are all the previously built-in objects that holds value so that you don't bump into them. Next is log functions. So one example is log 2 to the base 10. So this is one way of finding the value of log 2 to the base 10. Another way is log 2 comma 10. So the second parameter, this denotes the base. So base can also be used as an attribute if required. And there is one more way how you can write this. Log 10 is a function which means it is of the base 10. We know that by default log holds base e. So when I say log 2, it is of the base e, natural logarithm. Next is Factorial. Factorial is a function, so factorial of 5 is 120. Next, let's talk about identifier naming. So identifiers are nothing but the name of the objects. So we have already seen that these identifiers or object names cannot have exclamation mark, it cannot have plus symbol, it cannot have minus symbol, it cannot have comment symbol which is hash. Yes, so all these are not allowed. And let us try creating some variables like that. So say a plus b. Considering that this is a variable name, I am going to put value 10 into it. So this is not possible. Similarly, a hyphen b. Again, this is not a proper variable name. This will get you into error. Similarly, star, slash, okay, all these are operators. So you cannot have these in your identifier name or the object name. But this is possible. A underscore b is equal to 10. Yes, a underscore b is equal to 10 is possible, but this is not a proper way of using an identifier to store value. Okay, it is not recommended in R. Now, we can also have numbers in our identifier names. So say for example, standard 10th, say mark is 99. Okay, so this is allowed, which means identifier name can hold numbers. But identifier names cannot start with numbers. Okay, so it cannot start with numbers. Now, when we talk about preferences, what we usually prefer when we are working with R is you can use terms with a dot in between. Say for example, average height is equal to 7. This is the most preferred way of naming the variables. Another convention is average height. This we usually use in Java, where the second word it starts with capital letter. But this is not that preferred. And in other languages, we usually use it like this. 2 words separated by an underscore for its identifier name. This is not totally recommended in R, even though you can use it. So you can see that all of them will hold values. Right? So you print the object name and give an enter so as to identify or see what is the value that it contains. When we talk about preferred function names, this is how we prefer it. When you have two terms, average height, this A should be in capital and H should be in capital. So this is how we usually create function names. These are some naming conventions. Next is using vectors to create vectors. So let us create a variable day. So C is a function. It is the combine function or concatenate function. And so on. Right now you can say day has 3 values. Okay, let me create another day where I'm using the already created vector day, and then any other new item that you want to add. So this is an example for using a vector to create another vector. So we are using this day to create day. Next is about if condition. So we have two important things when we work with statements: branching and looping. So when we have two branches or more than two branches based on a condition, then you call it branching. So here the syntax is so you have to give if is a keyword, then you can mention the condition, usually inside brackets. So after you give the condition, then you can give statement 1. And if this condition is false, you have to give this key term else and then statement 2. So this is the syntax. Now let us see an example. So I'm creating a variable new. So it is holding a value 1008. Now I'm going to check if this new is odd or even. So if the condition is new, I'm going to divide it by 2 and I'm going to check if the remainder is 0. If it is true, then I'm going to create another variable, say status, where I'll be storing even. Else status is equal to odd. So now let me check what is the value in my status variable. So it is even, which means new is even. Also note that here the condition should evaluate to a single variable. It cannot evaluate to an entire vector. Vector has lots of values. So it should evaluate to a single variable. Next, we'll talk about looping. The most common ones that we'll be using is for loop and while loop. So first, we'll talk about for loop. So for has a syntax. So for, then you have to give a variable in expression 1. Then you can have set of statements. So for an example, let's say for I in 1 to 10. So 10 times it will check ends, whatever you want to perform. Say I'm printing I, right? So now here the most important thing is the parenthesis. So print is a function, so we have to give it in parenthesis. So what happens initially, I takes the value of 1 and after this initialization it will print it. Then you know that this is automatically incremented by 1. So now the value will be 2. So i's value will be 2, then it will print. So it will keep on printing until this sequence from 1 to 10 gets over. So every time the value increases, I gets that value. So this is for loop. Repeatedly, you don't have to write print 1, print 2, print 3 and so on. Instead, a set of statement, here it is only one statement which is repeated 10 times using this variable I. So this is called for loop. You can also use break statement in order to exit a loop if required based on the scenario. Next is the while loop. Now in while loop, we usually do the initialization prior and give the condition in the while statement. So let us take an example. So I am creating x, its value is between 1 to 10. So you can see that its value is from 1 to 10, and I'm going to create a variable I, say I'm initializing it to 1. So we have to do this initialization, only then enter into the while loop. So while, now my condition is x of I. So initially i's value will be 1. So the first value. So we are going to check that if it is less than 10. If it is less than 10, what should we do? We should print it. So after printing it, we have to move to the next iteration, which is after 1 it should turn to 2. That is called looping, right? So we have to increment i's value. Okay, so this is an incrementation operation. With that the loop ends. So now i's value will be starting from 1 till less than 10. So 1 to 9. So that is the difference between while loop and for loop. In for loop, you can see that we'll be initializing it here. Automatic incrementation happens here. We are just going to print. So condition is also checked here because I will be from 1 to 10. In while loop, you have to initialize whatever is required. Only condition will be checked here. Inside the loop, you have to give the incrementation or decrementation process. Next, we'll talk about vectors. Vectors, they are the basic data structures in R, and it can be considered as a regular variable when we are performing arithmetic operations on it. So say I'm creating a vector v, so I'm going to put in some values into it. So the values will be from 0 to 10, and incrementing value will be 2. So you can see that v's value, we have started from 0 till 10. Incrementation value is 2, which is the interval between each and every element in the vector. Now you can just operate on it just like any other regular normal variable. So say for example, I'm creating another object v2. So v2 is equal to v plus 2. So you can see what is the value in v2. Every value is getting added with this value 2. Say division operation, v3 is equal to v2 divided by 2. So every value from v2 we have divided it by 2. You can also perform operations like 1 by v. Okay, so every value of v is divided with 1 by v, right? So this is the value that you get. So this is how you can work upon a vector as a regular variable when you are working with arithmetic operators. Now we can also see how these numeric vectors can be applied when we are creating vectors with vectors. So say I'm creating a vector final. Okay. So what are the variables or vectors we already have is say v, then v2, v3. So I'm just creating a vector with the combined values of these vectors. Right? So this is creating vector. This is the vector final with these vectors v, v2, v3. Next, we'll talk about Boolean values, Boolean constants. So we know that true and false are Boolean constants in R. So true and false. Now the most important thing is R is case sensitive, right? So say for example, I say S is equal to true. Now this is a constant, that value is stored in S. This is not possible if it is if R is going to identify true as a string. Say for example, I say D is equal to high. This will not work because you have to give high inside double quotes or single quotes. So from this you can see that true and false, they are considered as default Boolean constants in R. Right? Now you can also see that it is case sensitive. Only true in caps and false in caps is considered a Boolean constant. So this will give you error. Right? Also note that true Boolean constant, it corresponds to the value 1, and false Boolean constant, it corresponds to the value 0. Okay, next we'll talk about NA and NULL. So let me create a variable FIR. It holds the value 1 to 10. Now let me assign the fifth value of FIR with NA. Right? Now what happens? I cannot normally perform certain options like mean of FIR. This will give you NA. Right? But the same thing, I'm going to repeat it. Say I'll be assigning NULL. Yeah. So you have to now you see, right? This is a string. Now you can perform certain operations like mean. Let's try this. Right? So here the value is replaced with 0. So there is a difference between null as a string and empty null. Now let me create, say, another variable x. Okay, I have some values, say 2, 3. Right? Now here you can see the difference between this null and NULL in the form of a string. Now let me perform mean on x. So this is possible. Just like vectors, we have a data type called array. So next we'll talk about arrays. So array is a keyword here, all in lowercase. Okay, so array, it takes 2 arguments usually. Okay, array is a function. So let's create one array. And we have to mention how many number of rows and columns we require. So 2 rows and 5 columns. Okay, so first parameter is what is the data that we have to put in. The second parameter tells you how many rows and how many columns are required in order to create this array. So here we have 2 rows and 5 columns. You can also see that these arrays, in these arrays, the data is plotted in column order, column wise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? So for which it is by default that the values are plotted in column wise. Now you can also access these data using the subscripts. Now subscripts in here in R it starts from 1, not 0. Usually in other languages the subscripts of an array starts from 0. Here it starts from 1. Now another way of setting the dimension, we have a function dim. So let me create another array. So you can see here it is in one horizontal row. Now I'm going to set the dimension using the dim function. So I want to say that I need 5 rows and 2 columns. Okay, now this dimension is applied to this object new mat. Now you can see I have 5 rows and 2 columns. Next is about matrices. So matrix is again a keyword here. The syntax for using it is matrix, then what data we are going to keep in the matrix, then you have to mention the dimension 1 and dimension 2. So this is the syntax for using matrix. So let's create one matrix. So say I want to keep 4 values in the matrix and of the dimension 2 cross 2. So you can see that the values that I want to put is 1 to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 and in 2 cross 2 order. Finally, we'll talk about the working directory. Directory is something which can talk about the folder in which all the current data is getting stored. So let's see. Get WD will get you the current working directory. WD stands for working directory. So this is my current working directory. So you can also set it to a different location using set WD, set working directory if required. And we have already seen that ls is used for listing all the objects that is present, right? These are the objects that is present in the current working directory. Now dir, it lists out whatever is present in your current folder. Okay, dir is a function. It lists the current working directory. Now let me show you one important function, rm. So we have already seen that rm can be used to delete certain objects. So say I want to delete s and v. Okay, so I'm deleting s comma v. Now again use ls to see that s and v both are deleted. Now what if I want to delete all the objects in here, for which we have a function remove is equal to, I'm going to create a variable where I'm going to store every other object. So ls will list all the objects. I'm going to store it in list and then I'm going to apply remove on it. Now let's check it with ls. Yeah, we are not supposed to assign it. You remove this equal to. Now check. Okay, there is no object available because we have applied rm, which is remove everything in this list. So this is empty now. So don't try it unless required. So that is all for today. Thank you.